What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Deputy Fuentes, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office.
All right, how you doing?
I'm pulling you over because you don't have a license.
Is it required?
Yes. That's what license means? It means you're allowed to do the thing. If there are driver's licenses and you don't have one, you aren't allowed to do the thing. Same thing with hunting licenses and fishing licenses, depending on the laws of your state and what specifically you're hunting, obviously. But, like, you're in Michigan. I'm not a hunter. But if you are a hunter, you need to get a license. Jesus. Or at least tags for the deer that you are hunting.
State of Florida, a tag is required to drive in the state of Florida.
I'm not driving. You see the tag, what it says. It says I'm traveling. Thank you very much. So, that's your probable cause?
Per state of Florida, you have to have a proper registered vehicle to be traveling on the roadway.
That's not true at all.
Okay.
The cops dealt with these people before. He knows to use the term traveling.
You can look up UCC 9-109.
Okay, do you have your license?
UCC 9-109. Oops, that's 102. 109. Uniform Commercial Code 109-109. General scope of the article, except as otherwise provided in subsections C and D. This article applies to a transaction, regardless of its form, that creates a security interest in personal property or fixtures by contract, an agricultural lien, a sale of accounts, chattel, paper, payment intangibles, or promissory notes, a consignment, a security interest arising under Section 2-401, 2-405, 2-711, or 2A-5085, as provided in Section 9-110, and a security interest arising under Section 4-210 or 5-118. Security interest and secured obligation. The application of this article to a security interest in a secured obligation is not affected by the fact that the obligation in itself is itself secured by transaction or interest to which this article does not apply. Holy fuck. Let's see if there's a... Yeah, I can't read this shit. Something, it has to do with liens on property. It seems like. Not sure, though. There's a good reason I'm not a lawyer. My laziness is one reason, and my second reason is I don't have the patience to learn this shit.
License on you, buddy?
It's not required,
Driver's
sir.
license?
It's not required. Can you get a supervisor, please?
Yeah, no problem.
You can read that if you want to.
Okay.
I would like for you to return it, though.
Okay, right.
But it clearly states it right there.
Her spooniness says, how is my name on the stream, boss? Did you become the stream boss yesterday? Because I don't update it every stream. If you were like the stream boss yesterday, you still are today if it hasn't been knocked down yet.
Hold on to that.
I took the keys out of the ignition as well. They're on the front.
Okay, no
So
problem.
you're in no immediate danger whatsoever.
No weapons in the vehicle? Because I'm concerned about weapons.
You are in no immediate danger.
Okay,
I have no
I
weapons.
appreciate that.
Other than that, I refuse to answer any questions without having proper counsel present.
All right, I appreciate that. Where are you coming from, bus?
I refuse to answer any questions without having proper counsel present. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Supervisor's on her way.
Thank you. That's what you're supposed to say to me next. Nothing else.
You resubbed today? Yeah, if that sub, because the subs, even if you're just resubbing it, I think it takes it out of the stream boss, so you probably just happen to be the one to do the final however many hit points. I think a sub does 300 hit points or something to the stream boss, so you were probably just that. And thank you for re-upping your subscription, by the way. I appreciate that. Helps keep the show running. I really, really appreciate it to everyone who subscribes.
Well, there's no law saying that you have to have a registered
Or even just
vehicle
follows.
when you're traveling. You can travel
Because I like having people here. You're supporting the stream just by viewing it, even if you don't actively, you know, give bits or whatever.
Did you take like college courses that that briefed you on that, or where did you learn that from?
All you have to do is read. It's in your Constitution.
Okay.
The
'Cause I'm
Constitution
trying to learn
states it.
from you.
That's why
Okay.
I could give you, I could let you read this paper, and it has uniform commercial codes in it because driving is a commercial activity.
Okay.
No, it's not. It is not. Nope.
And I'm simply traveling, which is not driving whatsoever. They're
God damn it, these people. Why? Let me see if I can find a succinct article as to why sovereign citizens believe that driving is not traveling, or traveling is not driving. Why do sovereign citizens say they are traveling? There we go. On the road, sovereign thought is expressed as the right to travel. In this, acolytes believe that people don't need driver's licenses, license plates, vehicles, registrations, or insurance to traverse the country's highways. To reach this conclusion, sovereigns often draw a distinction between being able to drive, which they say is the privilege of using a vehicle to conduct commercial activity, and being able to travel, which they assert is a right inherent in the Constitution. The website freedomfromthegovernment.org offers a sovereign-friendly explanation of the asserted right to travel that runs some 30,000 words long, including citations. Multiple attempts to contact Trent Goodbody, a writer who apparently runs the site, were unsuccessful, but the online store linked to the site sells a set of replacement license plate tags proclaiming that the vehicle is private, traveling without commercial purpose, and not subject to insurance or licensing requirements. They cost CD $39.95. No one in the office has volunteered to mount them to their vehicle. No kidding. Where these alleged binding definitions come from is a varied and often perplexing matter, writes Caesar Kalawinski IV, a Seattle attorney who recently confronted sovereign legal claims in Montana Law Review. Quote, sovereign citizens often cite the U.S. Constitution, the Uniform Commercial Code, the Magna Carta, the Articles of Confederation, and numerous other quasi-legal documents to support their assertions. Although authoritative sounding, the true basis for a citizen's constitutional rights is found in the Constitution itself. The U.S. Supreme Court is the only legal body that can interpret and give legal effect to the Constitution. Accordingly, sovereign citizens' citation to and reliance on dictionaries, state court opinions, specific capitalization, or state records are misplaced and unavailing. Seam's reprimand of Deputy Canfield is a good example of this, though he seems well-informed. His interpretation of the law is misguided. After the video went live, Grant County Sheriff Tom Jones took to Facebook to explain that even if the cruiser was in violation of the state law cited by Seam, there's no ticket to write or arrest to make. That particular law requires such violations to be handled by an agency head. It's administrative, nothing more. Let me see if I can find something more specific. Southern Poverty Law Center. This is just a Reddit thing on the... There's apparently a sovereign citizen subreddit. I was out at the bars and this guy I know was explaining all this bullshit. He's a sovereign citizen. I wasn't paying attention because it seemed like he was just another person in these videos. What exactly are these people trying to prove with their traveling argument or person versus citizen argument? Do you know how fast you were driving? I wasn't driving, I was traveling, smugly assuming this would end the discussion like that ever happens. Okay, do you know how fast you were traveling? Funny. Eros Phoenix says basically their argument is that legally driving requires the transportation of cargo, and if so, you aren't transporting anything, you are not driving, you're traveling, and you don't need a license. Unfortunately, that's bullshit, and driving legally means exactly what you think it means. It's a way to try and argue that laws can't restrict their movement and don't apply to them. I wouldn't be surprised if they argue that the DMV is able to exercise this power over non-sovereign citizens because the thing being transported is their, quote, corporation, but I've never heard this argument explicitly used. I once argued with a sovereign citizen over this, and he pointed to the case titled Thompson versus Smith. Thompson v. Smith. Inside, it states that traveling by motor vehicles is a right and not a privilege, as it notes that whatever the modern mode of travel for the day, the citizen has a right to. It also says in the bottom line ruling, however, that cities and states may regulate it in the interest of public safety, which he basically ignored by saying that expired stickers don't constitute a reasonable purpose to strip someone of license, and then went on to be sarcastic about it. Thing is, stuff changes during these periods, like eyesight, health, criminal history, and so on of people, so yeah, the renewal process is reasonable. Arguing with them is pure pain, and I don't know why I bothered. Yeah, interesting. Thompson v. Smith. Date published 1930. Automobiles permits, perpetual permit, revocation, city's rights to regulate use of street as continuing power. An ordinance providing for the granting of permits to automobiles drivers, provided that the permit should be perpetual unless revoked as provided in this chapter. No provision was made in the chapter for revocation of the permits, therefore it was contended that the city could not thereafter, by amendment of the ordinance, provide for revocation of the permits, but the power of a city to control and regulate the use of its streets is a continuing power to be exercised as often and whenever the city may think proper. Therefore, there is no merit to this contention. So basically, even though theoretically you could say that the right to travel is a right, the states reserve the right, and counties within those states reserve the right to pass any traffic laws, including licensing, as needed for public safety. Interesting.
Two different distinctions by Supreme Court themselves.
Okay.
So that's what I'm asking. Would you like to read it?
Later on. Let's get the supervisor here.
Okay.
That way we could all just have one big learning communication.
Okay.
All right.
No problem.
I don't mind you recording this at all as well.
We're out in the public. You can't stop me from recording.
Okay.
Anything that's out in the public has no expectations of privacy.
Okay.
Supreme Court has ruled on that as well.
Okay, cool. I like your shirt too.
Thank you very much.
I look at the cops like, I like your shirt. Yeah? It's a cool shirt. God, I wish his head would get in the way of that light. It's giving me a headache. Ugh.
And over.
For your comfort, you're more than welcome to turn on your vehicle and have the AC going.
I've seen too many people get shot and killed because the officers believe that they're about to get ran over. That's why I told you I took my keys out. The keys are on the dash.
That's where I draw the line, all right?
I have a wife and kids.
I don't think it's unreasonable to mention to the cop that you're concerned you're going to get shot, because that does happen quite often. Cops like, that's where I draw the line, pointing out that cops murder people all the time. What? Fuck you.
And I'm not.
So
No.
that's why I'm giving you the opportunity
No,
to
thank
turn
you.
on your AC.
I appreciate the
Personally, I
opportunity,
think you
but
watch
no,
too many
thank you.
YouTube videos.
No, thank you.
I gotta switch the video because that light is bugging the crap out of me. It is hurting my optic nerve.
Absolutely. Okay. You're being stopped for traffic violations. There isn't one, but you're being stopped for traffic violations. There does not. Do not move. 7. We continue to the driveway of 334 North 7. Driver's not cooperating.
So what does this person do? What I do?
Okay. You committed traffic violations. Fail to maintain lane and white light to the rear. Okay.
What?
This is a traffic stop.
Uh-huh.
Okay. For traffic violations. Okay. You have to provide your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance.
I'm not driving.
Yes, you were.
No, I'm not.
Traveling?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We don't do that. Okay.
We do.
Fail to carry and present.
Sorry, you need to know your rights.
Absolutely. You're being
Where are they?
you're being recorded.
I don't care.
Okay. So stand right
I'm
there.
not being recorded.
Okay. Do you have a driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance?
I sure don't.
Okay. Well, you're required to present. Do not walk off. Stop.
What can I do?
707 code 3. Stop.
Hey, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Foolish.
Just screw it. No, you're not doing this.
Do not move.
You're not doing this.
not
buddy.
move.
You're not.
Do not move.
Stop it.
Do not move.
Stop it, dude. I done nothing wrong. And you know it.
707 fighting with 1. Do not
No,
move.
I'm not fighting, dude. You
Face-
get the fuck away from me.
No matter what your situation is, even if you're completely innocent of a crime and the police are arresting you, running away from the cops is a crime in and of itself. You're not gonna make your situation better by running from the cops, even if you were in the right, which this guy was not in the first place. If you are being arrested by the police and you think it's wrong, deal with it by getting a lawyer. Even if it's a public defender, you still need to do what the police say, because running from them and not complying with them is a crime in and of itself. It's not great, but it is what it is.
I'm a traveler. No, you're not doing it.
Get on the ground.
Fuck you.
Get on the ground.
Screw you.
Get on the fucking ground.
Fuck you. Beating you motherfucker.
Get on the ground. Stop
Fuck
resisting.
off.
Stop resisting.
Fuck off. I ain't resisting you. Stop. What are my
Stop
rights?
resisting.
What are your rights?
Stop resisting.
Why do you want to do this? Take a... Dude, you let me say... Ow, 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 ow,
Do
ow.
not move.
That's a taser.
707 taser deployment. Do not move. Hands up. Hands up.
I'd imagine it's pretty hard to not move while you're being zapped by a taser. I've never been tased, so I can't say, but I'd imagine it's probably near impossible to not move while you're being tased. Even if it doesn't literally stimulate your muscles to make you move, like, you're still in a lot of pain, so...
Up. Do not move. Do not move. Do not move. Hands out. Do it now. Red front patrol car. Get your hands out now.
Ah, so many bright lights.
707, we're 1015.
Ow. I'm hurt. Oh my god.
707, we need a medic for a taser deployment.
Oh yeah. Oh, can I get up? Are you gonna do anything to me?
Nope, I want you to scooch over this
I
way
think we're
towards
good.
me.
I haven't cleared the car though. Let me clear
No,
the
I'm
car.
gonna have to stand up. Come on.
I'm gonna clear the car real quick.
Bad call, dude. Bad call.
This is so illegal.
Spring courts.
11 minutes.
How's it going, sir? See your license, registration, proof of insurance?
Travel upon the road.
You don't have to have a license to travel on the road.
Now,
How's it going, man? So did he talk to you about your plate, your temporary plate?
I don't need a plate.
Oh, you don't need a temporary.
No. That's all I'm handing y'all. Other than that, I don't answer any questions.
I can't hear you.
I don't answer any questions.
Oh, okay.
enough to explain if you want.
Yeah, yeah. I've never seen one, man. It was the first one I've seen.
See, by legal definition, driver is defined.
God. So he's gonna cite Black's Law Dictionary. Let me see if I can find the specific entry from Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Law Dictionary. Driver. Black's third, one employed commerce in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, or bicycle. Here we go. Okay, great. Right to travel, transportation code, duplicate. Black driver, Black's fourth. One employed in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, and other animals, or a bicycle, tricycle, or motor car, though not a street railroad car. A person actually doing driving, whether employed by owner to drive or driving his own vehicle. Driver Black sixth says a person actually doing driving, whether employed by owner to drive or driving in his own vehicle. So it looks like in 4th edition, it just says one employed in conducting or operating a coach. I think they use this word employed to believe that that means literally like employed in the modern parlance, when what they mean is one who is driving. Employed doesn't literally mean you are employed by someone to do so. Employed means you are taking part in something. Even so, in the later editions, it clearly says, you know, it clearly says one employed in conducting a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, or bicycle, tricycle. This is from 1902, though. Are they literally citing a law from 1902? Not even a law dictionary from 1902. Oh, boy. This is on the Am I Being Detained subreddit. They say, I am fascinated by the make-believe world that sovereign citizens live in, so I decided to check out the most highly revered source of information. The online version of Black's defines driver as, quote, one employed in conducting coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, a bicycle, tricycle, or motor car, though not a street railroad car. Perhaps the term employed is causing confusion, since the sovereign citizens claim they aren't driving if they aren't doing so in a commercial capacity. So once again, according to Black's, employed means this signifies both the act of doing a thing and the being under contractor orders to do it. If you aren't under contractor orders to do it, you can still be employed by simply doing a thing. I couldn't find a Black's definition of conducting, but a Google search shows many definitions, including be in control of. To summarize, driving means conducting a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle or motor car. Whether or not you are in a commercial capacity is irrelevant. If you are operating a car in control of, you are driving and thus need a driver's license. Simple enough. So it seems like the word employed is tripping them up, which is kind of weird because it's not that difficult to understand what's being said there.
As one
Oh, how many
employed.
copies of this you got?
I've probably got. This is my motion to dismiss in case you ever take me into a courtroom.
How long am I going to stream? I don't know. Maybe another 20 minutes, half an hour. I have no idea.
Notice to all law enforcement officers and commanding officers.
Void Harpy says it's a law dictionary. It's meant to describe, and they're interpreting it as prescriptive. Let's be real. None of these people know the difference between descriptive and prescriptive, so let's not confuse them with words they don't understand. Yeah, he
By
put the
legal
paper.
definition, driver is defined as one employed in operating the vehicle.
Oh no, he's literally quoting it. Employed means like you're doing the thing. You're employed in operating the vehicle. You are involved in operating it. You are doing it. You are actively taking part in the operation of the vehicle. Employed does not mean you have been hired for a job. We can even look at like fucking Merriam-Webster for this shit. Employed Definition. I imagine the first one, because in the modern parlance, employed typically means, again, this first, which is having a paid job. But you also have definition number 2, to make use of. So, if you are employed in using a vehicle, you are making use of using... Jesus Christ, these people. Hold on, let me go to the actual dictionary.com. To hire or engage the services of a person, provide employment for, so this is the definition that sovereign citizens believe is being cited in this 1902 version of Black's Law Dictionary. To keep busy or at work, engage the attention of. He employs himself by reading after work. So he's not being paid to read, but he is nonetheless, he employs himself by reading after work. Because he is keeping busy, he's doing the thing. To make use of an instrument, use, apply. To employ a hammer, to drive a nail. So you can be employed in driving a car. Okay. I'm surprised this hasn't been explained to these people.
I'm just traveling from point A to point B on public roads and my private property.
Okay. Got you. Is that definition somewhere in here?
I am embiggened by my knowledge. The founder of Springfield said that. Knowledge embiggens the smallest man.
It's all right there.
Somewhere.
Jebediah
On the right to travel
Springfield.
document.
Oh, okay. You ever seen this thing?
This one explains the no license plate.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
This explains the license.
Thank you,
But you did have a temporary tag?
After I bought
Maria
the
Salazar 868. Thank you for
There's no need
following.
to have it on.
So only after you bought it, and then after that you got
Well,
it?
even after I bought it, I took it off. It's still right back here in the back seat.
Oh, okay.
To my understanding, the Supreme Court's already ruled that it's legal to travel on public highways in your private property.
No, they have not. They have ruled that, and again, we read this decision a little bit earlier. They've ruled that it can theoretically be your right to do so, but, and this is the but that matters here, but states and areas within states can create laws requiring licensing to operate vehicles. So the federal government has no official law that's like, you need a driver's license. However, state governments, all of them in the United States, do require a license to operate a vehicle on public roads. So, the Supreme Court has said, you need to follow those laws if you'd like to operate a vehicle publicly in those states.
Okay, and you said, what was that? What was it? I didn't catch the first part.
The Supreme Court's already ruled
Oh, okay.
in all of this.
Okay. I've never seen this, man. I mean, I'm
It's
trying
kind of
to...
it's a whole civil rights movement and civil rights upcoming.
Don't co-opt the term civil rights movement for your bullshit that you
I'm
think
trying
you
to
don't
read
need
it,
to
trying understand
have a
where
driver's
it's
license.
defined as. Yeah, it just makes it. So they said that you had a temporary tag, and then now that it's, you're not showing it, and the temp tag was in your name, right?
I bought the car.
Okay. Yeah, so the temp tag was in your name, showing that you were in somewhat complying with, that, but now you're not showing it. Temp tag expired on the 21st. I'm not too sure, man. Now this, it says, I understand travel, the right to travel. The right to travel freely in this is a constitutional right.
That's a Supreme Court ruling from Thompson versus Smith.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that. But as far as I'm concerned, travel, if you're out and about or you're on a horse or I don't know, but with a vehicle. I mean, that's the whole point. We gotta
It's unconstitutional to have a right turned into a privilege.
No,
What's
it's
that?
not.
It's
They literally
unconstitu-
said states and counties can. That was, oh God, it was, what was it? Smith v. Thompson. From 1930. I want to see if there's like a Cliff's Notes. There we go. We got some summaries. In Thompson v. Smith, and then, you know, all the location info for where it's found in the records. The court discussed the rights of a police chief to revoke driver's licenses under a provision of the city ordinance, which stated, the chief of police is authorized and directed to revoke, subject to right of appeal, the permit of any driver who, in his opinion, becomes unfit to drive an automobile in the streets of the city. We got some more, so let's read all these. Under review was ordinance of the city's Lynchburg. That ordinance declared that it should be unlawful for any person other than a transient to operate a motor vehicle upon the city streets until he had secured a permit from the chief of police, and those duty it was to carefully examine the application as to his qualifications.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Thank you, Munzery, for 100 bits. I'm looking for the actual... An ordinance providing for the granting of permits to automobile drivers, provided that the permit should be perpetual unless revoked as a provisional, as provided in this chapter. No provision was made in the chapter for revocation of the permits, therefore it was conducted that the city could not, therefore, by amendment of the ordinance, provide for revocation of the permits, but the power of a city to control and regulate the use of its streets is a continuing power to be exercised as often and whichever the city may think proper, therefore is no merit in this contention. So basically they were saying specifically because this law referred to a subsection which was not complete at the time, and therefore they had no proper right to take away a license in this specific case. They very clearly say, however, the power of a city to control and regulate the use of its streets is a continuing power to be exercised as often and whenever the city may think it proper. And that applies to states as well. So there you go. I don't know why these people, like, again, I'm not someone who reads legal briefings. I don't read legal decisions very often unless it's like a big Supreme Court case. I'm not great at it. But it takes 5 seconds to look this shit up and actually read what it means.
To have a right turned into a privilege.
Oh, okay.
You can't turn a right into a privilege.
Now I can understand if I say it's your privilege to travel from here to Kerrville, but if I said, now if you're going to use an automobile that puts other people in danger, which it does, I'm not saying that your actions right now put people in danger, but by driving a motor vehicle on the public roadway
is a constitutional right.
Okay. See,
no, it's not. The Constitution does not give you a right to drive your vehicle.
That's where I'm losing you. I've never heard that. Now, traveling, by all means, but operating a motor vehicle on a public roadway, I've never heard of that being, you know what I mean? So you understand what I'm saying, right?
I understand everyone's point of view, but it can't trump my rights.
You don't have a right to drive a car. You don't. You don't. Not in the United States. I don't know if there's any country in the world where that is the case, but most developed countries require licensing to drive a vehicle on public roads.
Hello, sir. I'm Sergeant Isville with the police department.
I used to be really good friends with Mark Mason.
Oh, really? Cool. Yeah.
Oh god, is he like name dropping some fucking cop to try and get out of his... I hate that shit. Fuck you. Nothing bothers me more than people trying to use like nepotism or their friendships with people to get out of tickets. No. Rule of law, bitch.
I just worked for Lieutenant Mason for years.
I was really good friends with him. Cooked his food every day at Felix's.
Oh, really? Cool. Yeah, he retired not too long.
He was a good guy. Or he is a good guy.
So I understand that you're saying that you don't have a... is he calling me? That's fine. So anyways, what my understanding is that you're saying that you don't have to have a license plate on your vehicle, or you're not going to put one on your vehicle, or?
Nope.
Okay, is that the plate in the back? The temporary?
That's the temporary one the dealer gave me, but I don't need it.
Okay, and you're saying you don't need one for what reason, sir?
It's all right there in the papers.
No.
What exactly is that?
It's a constitutional right to travel.
Okay.
Thompson versus Smith says that it's right of the people to travel freely on highways unrestricted in their private property on public roads.
Okay, so you were on a
And it's in
public
life,
road?
liberty, and pursuit of happiness that I have this right to do.
Do you need a driver's license to legally operate a car on public roads? This is a Snopes article. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that motorists need not have a license to drive vehicles on public roads. False. For years now, impressive-looking texts and documents have been circulating online under titles such as U.S. Supreme Court says no license necessary to drive automobiles on public highways/streets, implying that some recent judicial decision has struck down by requirement that motorists possess state-issued driver's licenses in order to legally operate vehicles on public roads. One example of this claim opens with an out-of-context quote before launching into a potpourri of case excerpts from the Supreme Court and lower courts. Quote, "The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highway and transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may therefore, under normal conditions, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering nor disturbing another's rights, he will be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct." However, a full reading of the referenced case, Thompson versus Smith, Supreme Court 1930, available via Google Scholar, presents that inaugural quote in an entirely different context. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon in ordinary course of life and business is a common right which he has under his right to enjoy life and liberty, to acquire and possess property and to pursue happiness and safety. It includes the right in doing so to use the ordinary and usual conveyances of the day, and under the existing modes of travel include the right to drive a horse-drawn carriage or wagon thereon, or to operate an automobile thereon. For the unusual and ordinary purposes of life and business, it's not a mere privilege like the privilege of moving a house in the street, operating a business stand in the street, or transporting persons or property for hire along the street, which a city may permit or prohibit at will. The exercise of such a common right in the city may, under its police power, regulate in the interest of public safety and welfare, but it may not arbitrarily or unreasonably prohibit or restrict it, nor may it permit one to exercise it and refuse to permit another of like qualifications under like conditions and circumstances to exercise it. So basically, you can't arbitrarily say, Bob, I'm going to remove your driver's license because you don't like Bob. You have to have standards that apply to everyone equally. But it allows for the licensing of people to operate vehicles on public roads. The regulation of the exercise of the right to drive a private automobile on the streets of the city may be accomplished in part by the city by granting, refusing, and revoking under rules of general application permits to drive an automobile on its streets. But such permits may not be arbitrarily refused or revoked or permitted to held by some and refused to others of like qualifications under like circumstances and conditions. In other words, the court held that although the use of public roads is a right which citizens enjoy, local authorities may nonetheless regulate such use, including imposing a requirement that motor vehicle operators obtain licenses, so long as such regulations are reasonable, not arbitrary, and apply equally to everyone. Another bit of context, elided? Looks like eluded, but it's not. Elided from the example article is... let me look that up. Elided. I'm going to learn a new word today, apparently. Is it basically like omitted when speaking? Elided. Elided. Good to know. From the example article is the fact that in the reference decision was handed down by the Supreme Court of Virginia in 1930. Oh, it wasn't even the Supreme Court, it was the Virginia Supreme Court. So this ruling only applies to Virginia anyway. Jesus, these fucking people. Oh... Several of the 48 states did not yet require motorists to possess driver's licenses to operate motor vehicles on public roads. Moreover, fewer than 1 in 5 Americans owned a car in the 30s, a demographic that saw a little upswing until after the end of World War II. Therefore, regulatory issues stemming from broader vehicle ownership and more modern vehicular operating conditions were still decades in the future in the time the ruling was issued. No recent Supreme Court ruling has in any way challenged the legality of a requirement for driver's licenses. Driver's licenses are issued state by state with varying requirements, not at the federal level or according to federal requirements, and driving without a license is indeed illegal in all 50 states. Good article. Thanks, Snopes. Good as always. Snopes is a great reference for shit like this, in case anyone's curious. If you ever need to fact check something, especially like an urban legend or whatever, Snopes